Well, it's one of the stories being told. We cannot verify it and we cannot deny it.
Yes.
So, but it's a story that to tell us that as a baby, he was not capable of recognizing what's good for him and what's bad. But Allah has in store for him a great future.
Yes.
One of the greatest messengers that he could challenge the worst enemy of Allah on earth, that he claimed that he is the God of all gods, and he had the courage to talk to him directly, but that was by the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because he was chosen among human beings, the only human being to talk to Allah personally.
Yes.
And that was by Allah's choice to lead his people out of slavery to freedom.
Yes.
And that was Moses.
And we're gonna get to this story after, but I still want to pick on his childhood because there's so much to learn. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewarded his mother for trusting and putting him in the river, that he sent her back. Because when the Pharaoh's wife adopted him, he would not breastfeed, he would not eat from anybody. He refused. So, there's a problem in the palace. The new baby, the adopted baby, refused to eat, and that's where the sister of Moses told them, I know a woman that could breastfeed him. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Moses back to his mother, as he promised her in the inspiration when he inspired to her, trust me, put him in the basket and put him in the river. He came back to her. But so Musa alayhi salam went back to his mother, a lot of money to bring him up. He's bringing up now, he's brought up as a prince in a palace, brought up strong, educated, wealthy, and it all shows the miracle of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yes.
It just, when I think of this small story, it's amazing.
It is amazing, especially when you see the structure of the body that Allah gave Musa alayhi salam. He gave him very huge body,
very strong
body.
Yes.
So beside the nutrition value of the food of the pharaohs,
yes,
Allah gave him that look that will put fear on his enemies.
And they say he was very handsome too.
And plus
but all
he was
prophets and messengers were handsome. This is something from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, the respect, this charisma, they have it.
They do, the charisma, yes.
There's so much to talk about the life of Prophet Musa alayhi salam. We have to go for a break. Please stand by. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and welcome back to Muslim Chronicle. We are talking today about the wonderful life of Prophet Musa alayhi salam, and earlier in the show we talked about his birth, and now we'll talk about his marriage. And Musa alayhi salam had fled Egypt, going into the desert, and while he is in the desert, he sees a crowd around the well giving water to their animals, and there's two young ladies who are on the side and have their animals and kind of bashful and cannot because the men are pushing. So he asks them what's happening, and they say, well, we have to wait till the men, because our father is an older gentleman and we have to do the work. So Musa alayhi salam, as you mentioned earlier, is a strong young man. He decides to help them water give water to the animals, and then after this they leave, and he doesn't ask for a reward. This is what we call a volunteer work. Right. He's a gentleman. He does, even though when he left Egypt he had no money and he was in need of money, but there's two ladies who need help. He does the work and they leave. Obviously having all these animals show that they are well off, and he could have asked for money, but he doesn't. And after they leave, he goes to sitting under a tree and raises his hand to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and says, Ya Allah, provide for me. It's a wonderful moment, because he says, it's Allah the provider, and I'll ask Allah not from the ladies.
The people, yes. The idea, Jazakallah khair for mentioning that story, because it reflects three things. The quality of a mu'min, or the person who believes in Allah.
Yes.
First of all, he did not take the opportunity to infringe on those girls, to acquire
Yes.
illegal or haram stuff from them. He
It
served
would
them.
have been halal to ask for a
I
salary for
I
his
understand,
work.
but I'm talking about shaitan
Yes.
is always there for, especially if one of us did something for a girl or a woman. Sometimes we have that thought, okay, can I have a
don't
favor
have any
with that?
thoughts.
No, we don't. But we have to bring
Yeah.
that up because it's part of the Muslim or the mu'min
Yes.
behaviors and manners. Respect for the female
Yes.
gender, that they are not able to help themselves. So he came in with his great body, with his strength, and he helped them out, fill their need of water,
Yeah.
get them on their way.
Well, but I want to make a comment. We can't say
Please.
they can't help themselves, but in this environment where the men was pushy and they didn't give us a chance, because as we know, there's a lot of situations where women
True.
can help and are equal.
No, we're talking about this situation.
Yes.
They could not fill their water
Yes.
because of the aggressiveness of the men at the time,
Yes.
of those shepherds.
Yes.
So he came and took on his own initiative to help them out. So he filled their need for water and sent them on in their way. That's one
Yes.
typical characteristics of Musa alayhi salam. Second one is his acknowledgement that he is poor at the
Yes.
time when he lifted his hand.
Yes.
And he know that his needs cannot be fulfilled by anyone except by Allah. In the meantime, he had in his back of his mind those girls were well
Yeah.
off. They could pay him for his labor. Third, he did not acquire any other thing but his contact with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Before he knew it, he talked to Allah. He initiated. He
Yes.
initiated that. And after that, he acknowledged that, oh Allah, you gave me so many blessings, so many things. I am rich, but now I am poor.
And I say there's a lesson for each and every one of us in this
Right,
moment.
right.
Ask Allah. When you want something, ask Allah. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "Iza sa'alt fas'al." If you ask Allah for whatever you want. And then yes, it will come through somebody. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will inspire into somebody to come and help you.
That's true.
And that's the thing. He could have asked for the lady and put his hand out for the ladies, but instead he puts his hands up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and asks. And right away one of these ladies comes back to him, and she comes back bashful and says, our father have heard of the kind deed you have done for us, and he would like to reward you. Subhanallah. So rather than him asking where is the reward, where is the money, she's coming to him and it says that our father would like to reward you. And he goes to the father, and the father tells him, tell me about you. You look, obviously he looks as a nice young man, and yet he doesn't have any money, yet he's helpful. And he tells him, tell me your story. And he tells him the story, and he says, okay, don't worry, you're safe here now. Because he fled Egypt in fear of the Pharaoh. He tells him, you're safe here now. And that's one of the young ladies tell her father, hire him, dad. He is a strong and he's an honest person. And here we have to stop. There's a big lesson for all of us. Hire him, dad. He's strong and honest. So the next thing in the Quran, it tells us, he asks Musa, would you marry one of my daughters? So she's saying hire him, dad. He didn't say, do you want to come and work for me? He says, would you marry one of my daughters? Because he sees this young, handsome young man, a lot of morals, a lot of values, and he wants him to marry one of his daughters.
Subhanallah. It's another code of fatherhood.
Yes.
The fatherhood, basically, some of us are having misconceived notion that we should not ask men to marry our daughters.
Yes.
For the reason that
Pride.
one is pride, but usually the impression will give that our daughters are cheap,
Yes.
come and take anyone. But the idea is, in order for us to secure our daughters' future with a good, righteous man or young man, we have to find them ourselves
or when you find him,
when you
hold
find
on to
one,
him.
hold on to them.
Yes,
and
and
try.
we're not saying force it on the daughter
No,
or
no, no,
anything,
no,
but
no.
you notice she initiated the act by saying,
Yes, she
"Dad,
did.
hire him."
Yes.
And the father was smart. You know, why is this young lady asking for this young man
That's
to
right.
stay?